Constantine, for welcoming me. And I want to thank you also for creating, like an entrepreneur, this new podcast. Shared micromobility is a totally new industry. And I think, if there's someone like you who can tell the story from the inside and really talk and interview all the people that today are building this new shared micromobility world, I think, maybe it will be a piece of history in a few years. So thank you, Constantine, for that.
Well, the goal is to actually tell how it all started, because, most of these big companies started little. And most of them all know each other because we all started with Segway ES4.
not Dott.
Exactly. That's why Dott is different from others.
Yes.
And that is what I want to talk about, right? So please, before we go into the crazy growth of the industry, a lot of things happen. Tell me a little bit about your backgrounds. I know you have some background in supply chain as well. And I think you can see it as well in the way Dott differentiated at the beginning. You guys had a very strong team, with each team member having their own input. So tell me a little bit about you, but I want to know about your entrepreneurial story as well, because most people who will listen to this podcast know that as an entrepreneur, it's really a 24/7 job. You really give your life, and you have to be a little bit crazy, but also passionate. That's why Bike Twitter is very, passionate on Twitter. So please tell me a little bit about your drive and passion.
Yeah, so obviously it's very difficult to give a full picture of me in a few minutes. But first I'm French. I come from Normandy, from Le Havre, which is a sea town, port, which was communist actually for a very long time.
Really?
A city also that was totally bombed during the Second World War and rebuilt. So people used to say that what's great in Le Havre, which is my hometown, is that you can still rebuild everything. So it gives a lot of potential. So maybe that's where I got my entrepreneurial spirit.
But now you are rebuilding the micromobility industry.
But I think reflecting back, it was a city which was only based on cars. Like everyone was driving on cars, even to do a 500-meter trip to go to a shop. There were no cycling lane. The only other alternative you had was bus, but bus, was taking 30 minutes of wait, 1 hour wait, so it was not convenient at all. And just quickly reflecting on where we are and the change we are seeing, like if I'm going to come back there for Christmas to see my family, and I know already that now in this city there are cycling lanes, like literally like everywhere. There is an e-scooter operator. Unfortunately, it's not Dott.
I was going to ask when is Dott.
That's going to make me sad. I lost the tender. But the transformation is happening not only in the big cities, but everywhere in big cities, in smaller cities, like your city also in Kortrijk. So that's where I come from. And then I studied engineering, so that's my kind of problem solver aspect. Then I wanted as soon as possible to leave France. For me, it was depressing to stay in France, so I took the first job I could find, which was not in France, which happened to be in China. And was for Decathlon, a big sports retailer. Worked there in Asia for about 7 years, mostly in manufacturing and operations. And then I wanted to do something a lot more entrepreneurial. And so I joined a startup which was called Wayfair, which was an online retailer for home goods, built all their operations from scratch, then directed their business in Europe. We did a very successful IPO in New York. And then I was like, okay, like I it's great online retail for home goods, but in the end it's about, pushing people to buy more and more stuff. And for me, it's not at all me. I rarely buy stuff. And if I buy, it's like something that really needs to last forever, basically.
Exactly.
So that was not my thing. And so I was like, okay, like I want to work in a field which links basically with my own personal belief.
Okay.
And so I looked, and I got very interested in the energy field and nuclear reactors. But it's another story. But I got also very interested in mobility or micromobility, because
around what time was that?
That was in 2018, actually, beginning
Okay.
2018. And the reason is because I lived in all these big cities, Bangkok, Guangzhou, London,
There they already had the bike share, right? And
Singapore.
China.
Yeah, but every time in these cities where I lived, transportation was horrific. I mean, it was like huge amount of pollution. If you had to go in taxis or in cars, and you were getting stuck forever, basically in traffic and pollution. And if you were using public transportation, it was also usually not a very nice experience. And so I always thought, like, why are not people using, like bikes or things like that? And in 2018, when I was looking around, I got in touch with the people from OFO, the shared bike operator, Chinese, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And I got really interested and really curious, because what's great, and I think they totally transformed the industry, and our industry today is because of what they did, right?
Exactly.
But what they did is really leveraging IoT technology
with the
to
lock.
and smartphones, basically, to enable people with their smartphones to unlock bikes in the streets, track them, manage a fleet, and then let them lock it, right? And this was transformative, and I saw that. I was, wow, like this could be a great way to get a lot of people to use bikes in the cities, without having them to own or maintain basically a bike. And this is how I got into the shared micromobility industry, initially with OFO. And then I saw all the problems that existed with OFO.
I saw some
hardware,
pictures.
you saw the great, very artistic
bikes all over.
Pictures with a lot of bikes trashed. So there were a lot of issues, but I joined them initially, and then this is where I met a number of people, which were really passionate about the, basically bikes and micromobility and the impact it can have. We saw that, yes, it can work, we were putting bikes in the street. It was magic. People who were using them without us having to do any advertising or anything, but, it did not work. And so it did not work because the bike's quality was not good, because the operations were not good, because the collaboration with cities were not good, because maybe the values, the culture of company was not great. And so that's when we decided, just after a few months, I only stayed at OFO 4 months. So I learned, but then we said, okay, we can do it better. Let's build Dott as a European player, specialized in shared micromobility, and which aim from the beginning is to be a responsible operator. So that's a little bit my story. Sorry if it was a bit long.
It's great to hear. But I would like to know, to know in which department of OFO that you worked at, just to know the experience that you gained there. And what I also want to mention as well, you also mentioned it here, is that they were really pioneers in turning a bike into a shared bike. And that really started the whole industry. I don't think they receive enough credit.
No.
But that is really the basic of what turns this industry really what it is, because they made sharing.
It was an amazing innovation, right? Before, there were already shared bike schemes, but which obviously were relying on stations, which was extremely inflexible. It was taking forever to register. Everything was really complicated. And suddenly,
simple usage.
It was very cheap. People could really
very fast
lock bikes in 30 seconds.
It was actually revolutionary the way it was executed in terms of user experience, because it was so simple to use that it could be implemented, and the normal person can use it. You don't have to be like an IT person to use it. So and I'm very thankful. I mean, for this experience. I mean, OFO in itself was a business disaster in the end, despite having been very innovative. But for me, it was a great school, because I was not coming from the mobility sector. In 4 or 5 months, very intense, I had really a crash course in micromobility, and I had a great learning of what not to do. It's always great to learn what not to do, right?
But what I was doing otherwise, I was the head of the European business, and so my job basically at that time was to build the OFO business.
So it was more business development?
It was managing all
everything,
their operations, everything.
Like a general manager.
When I arrived, they had already started. So basically, they were already in trouble. So almost from day one, I had to lead a turnaround of the OFO business in Europe, cut the cost, and really make the operations a lot more efficient. But it was already too late. The company was basically bankrupt.
That's a great learning school, knowing that you founded Dott right after, right? Now it makes sense.
Yeah.
So that was in 2018, right?
2018, yeah.
And when did you do anything in between that, or did you immediately? So you found
we decided to close down the OFO business, I believe in July 2018.
Yep.
In the same time, we are so frustrated that we could not make like the shared bike dream happen with OFO, that with a number of the people from the OFO team, we said, okay, like let's do it ourselves. And so we started the project of Dott in July 2018, officially August 2018. We incorporated the company beginning of October. We raised, and then we launched operations in February 2019 in Brussels. So it went very quick. Yeah.